Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Duke on Twitch. Back today with an Abzan Maverick stream. This list is very similar to the previous two lists. The main difference being we're bringing back Once Upon a Time, which I did really miss when I didn't play it. The one reason that I don't like Once is that sometimes you rely on the card you don't find, whether that's a green source. Usually it's a green source. Sometimes it's keeping a mana heavy hand and looking for something like a Noble Hierarch to accelerate those out and not finding it. So I didn't like that Once Upon a Time was up to chance, whereas having a hand with, say, a Windswept Heath instead obviously fixes your mana considerations, and having access to potentially an additional mana dork in the space of a copy of Once also helps those chances. What I've done here is gone for 2 Solitudes and 2 Endurance to find with Once if we really need them on turn 0 or on turn 1. And by doing that, I've actually cut on a Knight, going back to 2. 2 is a little bit skeptical. I feel like a lot of the matchups where Knight is relevant, having access to 3 copies is really nice. 2 can do it, but you really need to find them. The other thought I had was around a Saga package, a small one, a little bit like what Newton's doing with Elves, but I landed on Solitude kind of being in that slot, in that Solitude is the life gain that I'll probably have off the Shadow Spear. We're not playing Mox Diamond. We already have bears that do most of the other targets that we want from Saga. And honestly, the mid to late game for this deck is quite strong. So I don't often feel like we need the Saga package. But I'd love to see it in kind of the slot of another color. So a green-white deck with Saga as kind of the added element. The other card I wanted to try in the sideboard was a Tower of the Magistrate. Obviously quite good at answering cards like Kuldra. Pretty good at, keeping constructs from being too much of a threat, as you can kind of fog one for a turn if you have a blocking creature. But Kuldra was a big one. It also stops Shuko, which is quite nice against Sepulchre Breakfast, if that's ever an issue. And against 8 cards, it's nice to be able to power something through Thopter tokens by giving that protection. And not something you typically think of when you think of Maverick. You do when you see Naya Depths. Tower is obviously a card to consider, but I think that surprise factor is also pretty good. I did think about dropping one of the fourth copy of Thalia for a Once, but I've been really impressed by the consistency of turn 1 Esper Sentinel, turn 2 Thalia in this list, so pretty happy to go with that. I did drop the Ooze. I do think Ooze has moments in Legacy, even in 2023, but it does take a bit of setup. It's obviously quite mana intensive, and sometimes the payoff just isn't worth it. Although Endurance is graveyard hate at instant speed, it is only a kind of one-off. So a situation that comes up a lot is Life from the Loam, and being able to having the thought of, do you hit the Loam and allow them to get the targets back, or do you take out the targets and allow them to have the Loam? With an Ooze, typically you have more power over that choice, either by taking out key lands they're getting back, let them have a fetch, and then get the Loam later. But with Endurance, of course, you kind of have to choose which half. So that's always the tough part. And obviously, the life gain is also quite nice. It can definitely come up in the close games against Blue-Red Delver. But having the extra Solitude also helps. So I think that's going to be okay. The small thing as well is that by having less Knight of the Reliquaries, you have less cards that can be pitched to both Solitude and Endurance. But in testing, we'll see how that goes. I did also drop the 2 Path to Exiles for the Tower and the Endurance. And my reasoning there was, I think the deck with 2 Solitudes has enough removal. Endurance, in my opinion, against decks like Blue-Red Delver, where you really want to pass, pseudo removal, being a 3/4 creature against 3/3s is really nice. And typically having access to the full 4 endurances post-board gives you time to be able to draw into your Solitudes and Salt Plowshares for things like Murktide. So that's really cool. And Fiend Artisan's been great as a Green Sun's target, not something I rely on. So not having the full 4 is really nice because it allows me to play other targets within the deck without having too much fluff when you have Fiends, Onces, and Green Suns. So I've landed on 2, and I've been pretty happy with that, as either just a way to build out my board on turn 2 without really knowing what bear to go for yet, and also just like an endgame threat against some decks, especially the bolt and kind of destroy matchups like blue-red. Fiend Artisan is a 4/4 or even a larger creature can sometimes just be too big for our opponent to answer effectively. So pretty happy with that. Hey Munson, very cool to see you. Hey Lornan. That's pretty much it. Let's get into a league and see how we go. I've been pretty happy with the deck recently, which is nice. We're playing a legacy league with Abzan with play points, gameplay. But it has been tough. I got wrecked by D&T in the last league. Just because of the value those creatures get is pretty huge. Especially when all of ours kind of 1-for-1. Here we have a pretty solid hand. Turn 2 Thalia, no turn 1 play, but we have a few things to do. We have kind of the Wasteland lock in our hand. We have Plague for creature decks, which I'm pretty stoked about. If we really want to, we have access to basics as well. So other than having acceleration or cheap removal, this hand's pretty great. 3 mana, 4 spells is pretty much what I look for in most matchups, especially in the blind. Okay, well that's going to be a nice answer to hit with Wasteland. We're obviously up against 8 cast here. So if they have like a Petal or a Mox and go for Emery, it's a little bit rough, especially with the Baubles already in play. But Thoughtcast is fine here. In this matchup, I tend to try to keep Swords of Plowshares for some of their bigger threats, because what I really want to be able to use on Emery and Sai is Karakas. Opponent here saw Wasteland in our opening, which is more than fine. It is the card they're going to see on turn 1. And this line also just gives us another turn to draw into once upon a time, to hopefully get that free spell off before we start casting things. Saga against 8-cast is definitely the best target. A lot of their non-creature or non-basic lands are artifact lands, which Collector Oof just hits automatically, so I assume this is just a Chalice for 1, which thankfully here doesn't really do a whole lot. They could name Verdant with this Needle, but I would think they go after Wasteland again, especially if they want to start winning through Urza's Saga. Alright. So I think best draw here is probably just trying to find a Once, and then off the Once find a Karakas. Endurance isn't the worst as a way to stop the Emery from getting value, but 2-for-1ing yourself is not that great. So I believe they know about the Verdant that we drew from the Bauble, so pretty happy just to play that and pass. Thankfully, we do have Knight of Autumn in the deck to take care of the Needle. But for now, Saga's kind of turned online. So the thought here is, do they have an artifact land, which would allow them to tap the Mox, which would allow them to Green Sun... Oh, sorry, Charles for 2. Honestly, with how this hand is going, I don't see us getting to a stage where we cast all 3 of our green cards, so I could see the Endurance here on the Ramanap, just to stop them from being able to Chalice for 2. We then still have Thalia into Knight, potentially into Plague Engineer, which I'm more than happy about. So I think here I'm happy to drop the Ramanap, especially with the Needle on Wasteland. It's going to take a bit of time. This also gets rid of all of these things that they can get back for free. And to be fair, it's also a artifact that stops them from being able to turn on this Mox. But with 4 cards in hand, I assume that's not going to be an issue. And there's the seat. Oh, this could be a Kappa. Okay, now that's going to be tough. Especially if our play next turn is to play the Thalia. It's going to be a bit of a race. But potentially a large Knight can get there. Turtle Warrior, Merfolk Wizard. So they can obviously use the Bauble and then get it back with Emery. Psi is not a real concern, other than... Interesting. I assume they do still trigger the Kappa, because they come into play, then straight away get killed by the Plague Engineer, so... The issue with Psi, really, here is that Thalia can no longer attack. So I don't see this going too well, unless we draw into potentially a Solitude, which means next time we might just have to play the Plague. And go from there. But an early Kappa is definitely a great way to try to get this going. So we probably have one more turn. So I think sadly the Noble's a little bit slow. Turtle Warrior, Thopter, Human, Artificer, I believe, and then Merfolk Wizard. They know about the Windswept Heath, but the 1 damage could actually be quite relevant. It's funny how much a 4 toughness creature matters in Legacy. Like, even here with Hierarch and Exalted Thalia doesn't get through it. Could potentially get to the stage where we could attack for 3, they block just to block, bounce off each other, and then play the Plague to kill the Psi, but taking out the Thopter does just as much. Yeah. Thankfully they can't counter this because they're tapped out under the Thalia. But it looks like they'll try. Okay. Thopter for sure. To be fair, we do have the out of Solitude if we pitch the Knight. Because we can pay the 4 as well for Improvise. Also for Ward, sorry. But this will be nice to see how the tower goes post-board. Obviously the Chalices as well are very good, flexible sideboard cards for not just combo, but also decks like 8-cast. It's a sweet deck though. Really like Kappa. Hey Echo, welcome. I think this card is really cool. It makes you... It obviously fits into Acast really well, but it's just a great payoff for the deck. Because sometimes it can dirtle. I've definitely had opponents everywhere. Where, yeah, opponents just keep drawing 2, but keep drawing into draw 2s, and don't really get a whole lot, so... See how this goes. Hey, Evan. Hope you're well. For anyone who enjoys D&T content, definitely check out Akaleth. Not just on Twitch, but also on Twitter and on Patreon. Releasing, I'm going to say bi-monthly articles. Really good content. Really good matchup content. And I cannot wait to finish an article that I've had in the drawer for months that his lovely partner is going to edit. Opponent just head back. Be right back. I think in the meantime, we can definitely look at sideboarding. And this is always a matchup where I tend to not over sideboard, but there's just so many good cards. And the hardest part is, like, what is actually that bad against this deck? So, Deafening Silence in the play, I'm a big fan of. The Force of Vigors are an easy one. The Chalices are an easy one. The Tower's an easy one. Not a big fan of Opposition Agent, Surgical, or Thoughtseize. Not a big fan of Endurance either. I think we just have so many ways to deal with Emery that we don't need it. Kai is always interesting, but I think it's a little bit overkill. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, most likely. Taking care of the baby? Nice. I feel like just like cradling and then watch someone yeah, play some MTG is pretty cool. Especially if it's Newton. Hashtag Cradle Master. But yeah, I think for the 7 cards we'll take out are probably going to be these. So I guess we do have room for one more. And yeah, you can see this. So let's move all of this here. Obviously, we want the 2 Force of Vigors. We do want the 2 Deafening Silences. We do want the Tower and the Chalices. And honestly, if we do get one more card, it's probably just an Endurance. As a 3/4, it's quite good. So. Okay. So here they will get an artifact creature that'll leave play instantly, but will trigger the Kappa. Which is actually pretty scary because every artifact gives Kappa +2. Which I assume sacrifice 2 artifacts, draw a card. They probably will just get lethal here. With 3 cards in hand. Yeah, nice. Alright. So let's look at these. Let's look at these. Sometimes I don't mind a Thalia. But generally speaking, this is where I'm looking. Green Suns. Beast is still fine. But Tower also kind of hits the same slot. But Beast from like an entertainment factor is just awesome as well. The Onces are fine. The Fiends as well as, like, you know, additional versions of Collector Oof. The Plague is great. The Ramen Up I don't mind, just getting back Wastelands, but sometimes I do get rid of Ramen Up as well, as it's just a little bit overkill. I don't mind the Deafening Silence parts because sometimes with like Ancient Tomb and the ability to tap tap artifacts, it's mainly Kappa that I'm really worried about early on, and I find Deafening Silence keeps Kappa off the board a lot more than Thalia does. But there's always a world where I can take out like a Ramanap and then keep 2 Thalias. I don't mind them on the play. I can even see myself going down on Grist and adding in another. It's also nice to have the white cards for Solitude, of course. Thalia does tax us, but when we're looking at the board, we're bringing in, 6 non-creature spells, but 1 is 0 mana, 1 is 0 mana, and 1 is 1 mana. So usually I'm pretty happy to, hold up 1 for force. And typically I like to get Chalice down before Thalia, but you never know. I've also been looking at moving out on Mana Dorks at times. We're not looking to, race them at all, but being able to turn 2 Green Suns for Collect Oof is a pretty great reason to keep the Hierarchs there. I think we'll see how this goes. And a pretty fantastic hand. Like, we have 2 pieces of interaction from the board. We have the Collect Oof naturally as well. We have the Tower naturally as well to start attacking. It doesn't get much better. We also get to just double spell turn 1 with Bayou into Ignoble Hierarchs. Pretty happy to keep this. Also, if they do force the Chalice, which, usually a good 7 here does hit the first real spell, it's 1 less force for the Collector Oof. Also pretty happy to keep that tower in hand until we actually need to show it. Yeah, it's very true. And even little things like Thalia, if they're on an Emery line, then Thalia can of course beat down a lot quicker. Wasteland. Pretty happy just to... So I do miss out on a damage here if I don't really want to Wasteland this. I'd rather keep the Wasteland for a Saga. So I actually don't mind just fetching for a Savannah here. Playing the Oof. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Like, there's a world where Ancient Tomb Saga is a way for them to get some sort of threat on the board. But here it's going to be really tough. There is a new card that's pretty interesting. I believe it's 3 mana, but it returns... It's like an Echoing Truth for everything. I think it's in the new standard set, but I could be wrong there. Kind of just overkill at this point. I think here I like playing the Wasteland, not even showing the tower, and probably just Green Sun's inning for a Knight as a big creature. Could also go for Grist. Yeah, this being just an island is pretty interesting. I think I might just go for a Knight. It's a bit better of a clock. Knight also gives me access to Karakas for both Sai and Emery, if they somehow get through this Chalice, but... Honestly, a Chalice into a Collector Oof is exactly the kind of draw we need to slow them down at this point. The 3 mana blue card, correct, kinda. Okay. Pretty happy just to bash here. Next turn, we pretty much have lethal. Can Wasteland ourselves if we really want to. Knights become 5/5s. Actually, that is, yeah. Alright, so just one of those games. This is where Deafening Silence can be a little bit rough, but it's always tough. I feel like it's still good enough on the draw, especially when the games go to like a mid-range game and they're drawing 2 a turn. It really slows them down for me able to draw, play, and go from there. So typically I don't think too much about the play draw, first 8 cast. And I think Deafening Silence is still just a really tough card for them to kind of interact with. Also slows down their threats a lot, which is kind of the role that I wanted to take so we can actually build out our board, find time to find swords or Caracas, etc. But Chalice has been really nice in the sideboard for a few different matchups. A little bit slow. We do have early removal, the tower if needed. We do have, it's pretty much a mulligan to 6 with the Dryad Arbor. And I think as a 6 I'd probably keep this. But there's obviously some big gains for going for 6. With cards like Deafening Silence, Chalice, Green Suns, potentially Mana Acceleration. Thalia on the draw just isn't that appealing either. So I'm actually pretty happy to take our chances at a 6. And we paid off really well. So we have the Collector Oof, we have the Mana Accelerant, we have double removal if needed. If we go for Savannah, I do have access to black mana here. If we go for a Bayou, we have access to white mana. I think I'd rather drop the Ignobled here, but in saying that, keeping the white mana open through a land is much more appealing than through Ignobled Hierarch. So I think here it's going to be the Noble, go for Savannah, go for Ignobled. Okay. Once into Wasteland here would be pretty great. Tower's not too bad either. One small thing, if we really need it as well, is we can evoke the Solitude to exile something and then tap Cradle for mana at the same time. Yeah, the Cradle could be a little bit rough. It works quite well with Zenith. What's this going to be? Are they not going to hold up Saga? Yeah, I would assume this is just a pass. The tough thing here is that my opponent does get to make 2 constructs. The first construct nearly turns on the Mox Opal, not just yet though. Knight. I honestly think here we just play the Cradle, play the Collector Oof, but hold open the swords. No Mother of Runes in this list, no. Opting for Esper Sentinel in that slot. I do find it actually trades a little bit higher, which is nice. And these days, there's not too many bears we actively are concerned about that aren't in multiples. So like Gaddock Teeg isn't really played anymore. Knight's usually a 3 or 4 of. Played the Cradle. Pretty happy just to swords this one right now. Just because I don't want to get in a situation where they can actually... I guess they can't use the Mox anyway, but... Okay. I guess Force Negation is a little bit of a reason. I didn't think about Force Negation post-board, but maybe they see our hate and keep it in. Getting rid of a Kappa, though, is quite nice, because we do have the Knight next turn and also Tower to hold up. We're also very close to hardcast Solitude. They probably just go for Needle here, because anything else is pretty dead. Obviously with Collector Oof on the field. Wasteland. Okay. Interesting. We're definitely playing the tower. So we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana to play with. I don't believe there's a way here to be able to play the Fiend and the Knight and hold up tower. But I definitely like getting the Knight down and then probably just holding up the ability to tower. Here's a question for chat, and hopefully this works out right. Say next turn they attack with just a 4-4. They attack with 2 4-4s. We block with a 2-2 and a 3-3. They then have to assign the 4 damage and say they want to kill the Knight. So they spend 2 on this, and 3 on this, and then 1 on the Collector Oof. Do I then have a chance to use the tower before damage on the Knight so that the Knight doesn't die and the Collector Oof doesn't die based on how they assign damage? Or say if they deal 2 and 2, we can of course keep the Oof open. You do that after they auto blockers. Cool. We're about to see. I assume so as well. And I do have stops here at blocks, so hopefully that all works out. Hey Joz, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Alright, so they attack with both. We then go block here, block here. They then... I guess they should have made a construct before, so they could deal 3 and 2, and that way, no matter what... I guess if... actually, yeah, because they can make another one, they can just do it after I use the tower. Yes, I should have obviously thought about this as well. This is actually a tough one. I think in this spot, just to have a chance against these other constructs, I actually have to keep the Knight. Tough. I played tons of Modern for years, switched to Legacy a couple of years ago and haven't looked back. Nice. That's very cool to hear. Two, three, four, 5. There is a world where I just want a Solitude now. To save them from drawing into 2 cards being either Force of Will or Force of Will and blue card, or the blue card for Force. But I think I'm in such a position now that I just have to hold off. Yeah, so we can use the Knight in upkeep to sacrifice the Savannah to find another white source. Or just draw it. So here I believe we get to play... Cradle for 2, play Fiend, we then have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana through Knight. Or play Fiend here? No. We would need to... We would probably need to tap the Cradle if we want to play the Fiend. I'm trying to see if there's a way to be able to play the Fiend, and then at instant speed, cast the Solitude, and also use Tower, which would be 6 mana. But if we tap the Cradle, we only have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana through the night. If we... I guess we definitely sack this now anyway. And just get another white source in Savannah. Doesn't really matter. I could get Scrubland, I believe. If I really want the black source. Sure. So if we go 1, 2... No. 1, 2... and then we have 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 1. Play Artisan. Cradle now taps for 3. This is 1 white source, and then Knight can find the other white source. And I kind of have to do this all in combat, which is tough, because they obviously get another Saga. I don't think they play a second Needle. But I guess I can respond to the tap, but I'm taking a fair amount. Especially with Trample of Shadow Spear. So if I don't respond here and they name with Knight, I'm pretty screwed. I guess I could name Tower as well, but Shadow Spear really hurts. Spell Bomb is interesting as well, because we do have the Tower to stop it. But maybe they might not see that. Okay. But they didn't... Maybe they have Otawara? Sigh. Okay. We do have the Caracas for that. Now they play Shadow Spear. Quick think. They currently have the Mox open. They played the Seat this turn. Do they have like a Lotus Petal? No. Okay. 3, 4. I am 1 short. 5 for Solitude, and the 1, of course, left over. I actually needed an extra 1 to hold up the tower as well. Tough. I think in that case I have to throw away the Fiend Artisan, potentially. Is there a world that if we tap the Knight, they then Spellbomb the Artisan? No, because we can give protection from Tower then, which isn't too bad. But if they have a Force and then bounce the Fiend... Yeah, Force bounce the Fiend does it. I wonder if I'm supposed to put Fiend in front of a construct, lose the Fiend, put Knight in front of a construct, and then try to tower it. Yeah, I don't think we can play around the Spellbomb. I block like this, I lose the Fiend, that's fine. Fiend does slow down the Psy, but I think this is fine. Yeah. I think I'd rather see if they use their Spell Bomb right now or not. Now I probably just want to turn the Scrubland into Karakas and bounce the Psy in instead. I think looking back and taking that math into account with the tower, it was probably better just to keep the Ignobled Hierarch untapped. Oh, they're going to draw a card. Wow. Pretty happy just to hit the Psy in response to this in case they draw into a 0 cast. Yeah, I definitely could have done that as well. The tower's in the deck for this sort of matchup as a knight target, which can go in tutor lands. And then for cards like Kaldra as well, to be able to de-equip the Germ. Once. Okay. It's almost a world where I can just attack twice with Tower, but they do have the Shadow Spear. They also have 5 cards in hand. I could once into a land and then hardcast Solitude, but if I'm wanting for a land, that's not great. Could once into Night of Autumn. I don't mind seeing what we hit. Okay. Does Endurance change things? It's a good blocker for the Thought Monitor or the token. So if I take the land, I can just hardcast the Solitude without having to use the Knight. If I take the Endurance, I can Endurance and hold up Karakas. Or hold up Tower. The Needle's the tough part. Might just be the Bayou. I think I should have responded to this on the field, but I think here I just have to respond anyway to try to get this Solitude down. And I mean, if they have Force here anyway, they just attack with everything. They didn't play the Psy first. Oh, trample. Okay. So now we have to double block and we can't even kill it. Yeah, I think that's just game. I should have taken that in consideration. Because I can't even, like, tower the construct. Oh, we do gain 3, but then we take 3. 10. Yeah, we can't even wasteland ourselves. We don't have a mana to draw a card. Tough. 6, 7, 8. 2 flows over. Yeah, tough. I think I played like last game pretty poorly. Especially the turn where I could have used my mana to cast the Solitude. I think I just got a little bit tunnel visioned into using the tower because I had it. Which is tough. But I mean, that's a, you know, like that's the power of Saga. Saga can just win games on its own. And there wasn't like too much else that was bothering me. It was really just the Saga and the ability to play a lot of cheap creatures. Or cheap artifacts, sorry. Tough. Needle there, a big one. I've always wanted to play the third Force of Vigor, but it's really hard to find the slots. Maybe it's the second Endurance, or I guess the fourth Endurance, but see how that goes. Yeah, Saga's pretty busted when they have the Needle for Wasteland. That's definitely one of the best ways to try to take advantage of it, but yeah. Really brutal. Have thought about Kataki as well as a Fiend Artisan hit. Yeah, it's very true, Jordan. There's a lot of cards I want to try out, but it's really hard to fit them in or to, like, I think a big issue that I have with my own decision making is when to go for flexibility over a card that just does what it does really well. Just play Yorion, yeah. That's a really tough one. Like, kind of like Outland Liberator versus Knight of Autumn. Obviously, Knight has some really nice flexibility, but if you're in a metagame where the 4 life doesn't matter or the, 2 counters doesn't matter, then Outland's probably just the better card. Like, just because something is new and shiny doesn't mean it's always better than, what's been doing the job for all that time. I think the issue with, like, Maverick Yorion is that we don't get the same value out of it. Like, you could play cards like Skyclave, potentially. You do have, like, Knight of Autumn, or Plague Engineer. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Fable's cool. I really liked Fable in like Punishing Mav. A really nice way to get rid of cards that are just kind of dead in the mid to late game, like Mana Dorks. Obviously, with Punishing Fire, you have some synergy with the discard. The mana acceleration as well is pretty key. Also, just getting the ability to 2-for-1 your opponent, hopefully, where they remove something straight away. All right, Bob. Woof. The plains, no green and no white card for the Solitude. So a pretty easy mull here. Probably my favorite planes on MTGO as well. I think there's like 3 different beta artworks. Big shout out to Jesper Meerfors. I'm going to say that I just murdered that name, but Jesper, I appreciate your artwork. Very, very cool. What I can't tell, I assume they're flowers, but they could be like skeletons of backs. Like the spines of old dinosaurs. Alright, let's mulligan this. Much better, but again, one of those trap hands where we can bottom the Dryad Arbor, but if we don't find an actual like threat with this once, it's going to be a pretty big feel bad. Most likely lands. Oh, okay. It could actually be... Okay. Nice. Okay. I think here it's the Ramanap that I want. Ramanap gets me out of kind of Wasteland locks, which is nice. Questing Beast doesn't do a whole lot in this matchup when they have access to Karakas. Same with Thalia. Fiend Artisan. Probably not. I think it's just going to be Ramanap. And then I could play around Crop, but like if they want to get Sajiri Step, that's more than fine. So I'm pretty happy just to play the Savannah. And then try to get rid of this. Yeah, because they can access this next turn with the 2 mana they have. Okay. Having the Knight of Autumn for either the Mox or if they play like a Sylvan Library is nice. Just a little bit slow at the moment. Oh, wow. Knight. Okay. Knight's pretty good, but I wonder here if Wasteland on the Yav is where I want to be. Just to take them off the ability to actually sack anything. It does make the Knight bigger, I get that, but I think taking them off the ability to actually have a Forest or a Plains in play to get rid of it. We don't really have another great play. Yeah, so like just take the 5/5 beats for a while. We can even play... I guess Oof is quite nice and like slowly gets there. Like we could go down to 5. Oh, they're going to float a white and have Swords of Plowshares. Okay. Fair. But I think what we want to try to do here is get Ramanap and Dryad Arbor online. I also don't mind Knight of Autumn this turn if possible. Okay. Changes things a little bit. Now, could play Knight of Autumn as a 3/4, which keeps the Reclaimer from attacking. And then next turn have Ramanap into fetch for Dryad Arbor, and hopefully that gets there. Which does buy a little bit of time. Next turn, I assume they attack with both, unless they draw into a land. So if we knight the Mox, it's just a 2/1. Endurance would also be a fantastic draw here. Okay. I wonder if they think about Endurance from us. And like, don't attack? No, yeah. I like the attack. Oh. I guess here just Green Suns for Endurance is probably our best play. If we play the Ramanap, there is a world where like if they draw a fetch and then just fetch and then give Sajiri Step Pro green, that actually gets through. So I think it just has to be Endurance, probably just off a Bayou. Could get Grist, but it leaves both threats on the field. If I get Endurance, it makes both of these X2s, which both Endurance and Knight trade with. But yeah, the line of fetch 6/6, sack it 7/7 into Sajiri Step, give pro green, gets through everything of ours. So we just have to make these smaller threats right now. Okay, they find a Wasteland, which is relevant because it can be used with the Reclaimer. But now next turn, the Ramen Up is quite good, as it turns on Wasteland, unless they get Bojuka Bog. Huh. Right. Let's try for Ramen Up. And even if they turn this into Bog, then we do have Verdant into Fiend. But they could also be thinking, if I just go and get like a Forest or a Plains, then I can just sack that to Night straight away anyway. So now it's most likely that consideration for, do I need to get Bojuka Bog to take them off Wasteland and Verdant? To be fair, I probably could have attacked last turn with the Knight of Autumn. They don't really have a great attack with that Endurance. They could also get Flagstones. I kind of like the thought of Flagstones here. It is a land I can't really hit. Oh, they get Yav. Wow. Now they're going to sack it away. Okay, to get Bog now. That makes sense. Get an extra land into the bin. Oh, and then they're actually pretty close to just having lethal by sacking. Oh, they get a fetch land. Interesting. Do they have Crop as well? It must be Crop. Yeah. And now they have, like, get through... They can just get through Pro with Pro Green, so... Tough. Pretty close. I guess the Pro Green doesn't get through, like, if I have swords, then it gets through anyway, so they might as well just go for it. Nice. Alright. Thalia is a pretty easy cut. I do like the Kaya, the Opposition Agent, the Endurances. Sentinels are pretty dead. I don't mind keeping some just for Solitudes and also early creatures for Fiends. I don't mind the 2 Thoughtseizes on the play. Don't really need the Force. Force is always an interesting one. Like a turn 1 Library is a pretty great start from them. But I could see a world, right? Bring in a Force for the Esper. Not really on a surgical plan here either. Just playing pretty fair. Plague doesn't have great play, but it does deal with Sylvan Safekeeper, which is pretty great. Its hand's a bit of a 6, but I'm happy to keep it. Dried Up are, of course, the card that I don't really want, but having removal with swords is really nice. Collect Oop against Mox Diamond starts is quite good. Otherwise, it's just getting in for a bit of damage each turn. Hey, Mistress. I was playing around with humans after that league, and landed on like a Chrome Mox build with like Palace Jailers, the Duck Confidence as well, get that card advantage back, which I didn't mind. It was definitely getting there. I was thinking about Seasoned Dungeoneer as well instead of Palace Jailer or alongside, but it's hard to play Seasoned without Ancient Tombs. That just doesn't work with humans, unfortunately. But sweet deck. I think that player posted another 5-0 with the same list, so good on them for, yeah, obviously doing really well with it. Understanding how they built it, why they built it. But hey, if we're going to go down to a deck, I don't mind going down to Nine Depths. The good guy of the format. Probably don't even want to fetch straight away. Probably rather to keep the Savannah. Unless I see cards with once that I want to get back. Like, it would suck to fetch and then play once and see like 4 swords in a creature and then just know, also 3 swords, and know that they're at the bottom. There's not really a card post board that I don't like really want, so pretty happy with this. All right, 6 cards. Start with once. Hey Saito Sam, hope you're doing well. Are you playing around with anything at the moment? I know you are obviously on the 2-power Maverick, or like Little Maverick, for a while. Are you still on that? Have you moved to other decks? Are you back on like the Hound? Hondor? 1 a white and a black for a 3/3 lifelink vigilance. It's like a Grafdigger's Cage, I think. I think it's just a one-sided. Is it Hundor? That's gonna kill me now. Abzan Dog MTG. Come on, Google. No. What do we find here? Esper Sentinel, Fiend Artisan. I don't mind the Fiend Artisan. And I really like the Fiend because if the Collector Oof isn't something relevant, then we can just turn it into something else. Hey, MTG DG. I do like the Hexmage and Green Battle, but I think it's better in the Dark Depths deck, because then you have also just Hexmage and Dark Depths as a win condition. So there has been a list that I've been playing recently. I have one more league with it after finishing up some consultation with the deck donator, but I'll find it after this. But it's pretty sweet. But I do really like it. It's pretty powerful. Kunaros, thank you, Jordan. Too kind. Thank you very much. Yeah, Kunaros is very cool. Prism Green Suns, okay. I'm not that happy to Swords the Dryad here unless you're drawn to Wasteland. Here I'm pretty happy just to go for play the Dryad Arbor out and play the Fiend Artisan out. Get that going. I think because I don't have a great mana denial strategy here of like Swords and Wasteland following up, I'm happy just to give them the mana and then Swords the actual threat. I almost next turn just want to trade the Dryad Arbor away for a opposition agent. It turns off Green Suns, Elvish Reclaimer, Crop Rotation, Night of Autumn. They play Tabernacle? Oh, I did not see that coming. Huh. Okay. That's fine. Happy to see how they pay for their creatures here. And then just swords the Reclaimer. Tab is a card that I don't usually see, but here it's pretty good. I might even be in a position here where I just want to attack with the Dryad Arbor. Okay. Thanks, Rick. Too kind. Too kind. What do I want to do here? I could draw a card, or I could just play the Oof out. I don't mind playing the Oof. Also one land away from like Green Suns for Grist and Neg. No, because I want to pay for everything. Library's pretty good there. We do now have an opening to get rid of the Reclaimer, but I think he would rather just pay for everything. Cradle would be pretty sweet. Wasteland's pretty sweet. Fiend. I don't mind drawing a card. If I draw into Force of Vigor, I can force this before draw step. Okay. We can just 6 this turn as well. But yeah, Tab really slowed us down. There's a world where I could move towards letting go of my mana dorks and try to get just something else down. Especially with Library on the field. We do have a bit of a clock, but it's not a great clock. The Yav with Tab as well is quite nice, allowing the tap to tap for mana. Also means we can tap the peatland without losing life, which is somewhat relevant. Oh, Minskin Boo. Yikes. I think we don't pay for the Arbor. Pay for the Oof. Don't pay for the Dryad Arbor. Pay for the Hierarch. Not great. It does pay for themselves, but I also want to get... I wanted to try to get to 4 mana to be able to get a Grist down. Or potentially a Knight, which would be a 5/5. I almost need to draw a card here just to try to get a green source from Solitude. Or Caracas. A little bit too late. Yeah. Honestly, I think with the library and the Minsk, it's just a little bit too much. Tough. Yeah, Tab. Obviously expected from lands, not from Naiadepts. Do run a fair ton of creatures, so you can get in spots there where it helps, but never really found a need for it. Dryad Arbor. Yeah, Tab was really good because the turn we played the Dryad Arbor and the Fiend Artisan to try to get some value off it. Was it Dryad Arbor and Collector Oof? Either way. Either way, a huge thank you to my sponsor, Card Hoarder, who allowed me to play these decks. And of course, MTG Mate, who allows me to play them in paper. It's been really sweet with Card Hoarder, especially with donation deck lists. Getting access to cards that I don't have in my personal account is really cool. Very quick. Don't have a bad thing to say about them. Right. Let's get on the board. Not with this hand. A little bit rough. Like, Collector Oof could be a dead card. There's a lot better openings. This is probably it. It doesn't have a green source, which we have to hit with the once. But I'm happy to try to hit that. But it kind of has to hit. Oof. Like, come on. Like, that's very lucky. Which I guess you just have to take sometimes with the deck. But like, if you don't hit that Savannah there, it's a pretty rough start to this game. Oh, is this just gonna be like a dredge deck? Crizzle. What do we got? We have Caracas Pass. Green Suns for 2 doesn't do a whole lot. Guess we could try to go for Collector Oof, but is that worth it? Yeah, maybe it's just once in case we want to hold up Endurance. We didn't see Endurance in the first 5, which is nice, and they're still at the bottom. But if they went like Lotus Petal Reanimate, that'd be pretty tough. Okay, they had a land at least. If they go with like an Unmask or a Grief here, I'm pretty happy just to want for the Endurance in response, potentially. Yeah. I'd much rather them have a grief than anything else. Oh, we don't hit. Yikes. I guess we take the grist. No, but then they take the grist. Maybe it's just night. Sentinel, yeah, might do something, but if they're going to be drawing off this Grizzle, they're probably going to be drawing into rituals and Lotus effects that just play around the Esper Sentinel. I think Grizzle gives you a few more outs, being able to draw 14 to be able to put another creature or, you know, 2 creatures in play. Okay. That's fine. Pretty nice. We still get to untap with 4 mana, which is Green Suns for 3 potentially. Yeah, I thought they might respond to the evoke trigger by shallow graving before the grief gets there. This is mono black, yeah. Could also be tin fins. At least if they get a Traxer in, get to get rid of the Cradle, the Noble. Okay. Now they're at 3. Oh, Questing Beast at the top. Green Suns, come on. Ooh, doesn't do it. Alright. 7 cards, 2 life to work with. Entomb. I'm going to assume it's Archon. Wait, is that their turn? Wow. I guess they could have Shallow Grave. But I feel like that if they had Shallow Grave, they would have done it in their turn. I'm going to waste on the Delta. I reckon they only have 2 basics. But I could be wrong. Really want to try to hit a duel if they grab one. Oh, they let it slide? Okay. Now do I want Dried Arbor out? I probably do. Get to attack with a 3/4. They lose the grief. Can you imagine how different this game would be if they went for a turn 1 Archon? That card is just so good. That card is just so good, and I swear they would have won that game if they got the Archon, but... Look, I'm not a Reanimator player, and I'm sure there are definitely worlds where Grizzlebrand just gets there as well. I obviously like the Surgicals and the Thoughtseizers. I like the Endurances. I don't mind the Deafening Silences even on the draw. The Plague's too slow, Questing Beast, Ramanap. I don't mind Grist. Oof just doesn't do enough. The Sentinel's probably not on the draw, but on the play I don't mind them. This is probably it. I sometimes think about Force of Vigor because of Animate Dead, but usually this is enough. Having 4 Endurance, 2 Surgicals, plus the Once Upon a Times. This is probably just a mull. Endurance itself, without a real plan and no green mana, is a pretty easy mulligan. Double Endurance. More than happy to keep this. Probably just bottoming the Cradle. 1 mana plus the once is more than enough. Take your pick. Probably could have once there, but I don't mind just keeping this as an unknown. They could also just get back this Endurance, which would be pretty brutal. No. No! I guess that's a good card to pitch to the Endurance, so... Start with the once. See if we find a Mana Dork. No, but we do find another Endurance. I probably actually just want the land, to be fair. But I could see a world where the second Endurance is quite good, seeing they already took one. I wonder if they have Opposition Agent. Okay. Like, we're definitely casting the Deafening Silence here, so even if they, like, Ritual into Agent, we can fetch with this one. Surely it's Brad. Green Suns and during the one-off Arbor. Name a more iconic duo. Progenitus and Natural Order. Craterhoof and Natural Order. They're probably up there, for sure. But it does happen a lot. You have to get used to it. Curses with Overwhelming Splendor. Fantastic answer. Don't really want to fetch here either. Oh. Ragavan, an opponent having 1 mana removal. Nice. Getting the Noble because it's the second color for white and also attacks. I assume our opponent just has like a bunch of ritual effects. Maybe they also just have, like, they're trying to get to format at a hard caster grief. Get value that way. I think the best draw here is probably either a land to keep the Dried Arbor in hand, or another green card to hold up with Endurance. Just so I can Green Suns for something relevant, like a Knight, to start getting some beats going. Could also go with a Grist here. There's a few options. We'll see if it works. I don't mind Knight. Grist tick up is a bit slow. Nothing end step. Wow. Okay. Show and tell time? Well, we're putting in the Solitude. They've already cast a non-creature spell, so they can't draw too many cards here. They could draw another 3 potentially, and then gain the 7 going to 10. But then, is there a way for us to like draw into Wasteland? Wasteland ourselves at 6, 7, 8, 9? Close. I'm a little bit confused as well. I assume it was very close to like Show and Tell plus something, and I'm actually not too sure. We might even see here. But I feel quite relieved by their keep. I would like to think that Deafening Silence played some role, but I think also maybe them knowing about the second Endurance green card just kept them from going off until they tried to draw into interaction, and then maybe just drew into the Show and Tell. Okay, they had a bunch of rituals, I assume. Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much. So we can just hardcast the Endurance at this point. So I don't mind playing the Dried Arbor because it plays around Archon to some extent. We could attack for 9. I'm not sure if that's worth it. This isn't Exile. Yeah, Exile green card. Be cool if I could pitch this, fetch, and then that's 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the same. 5. Oh, it would just be 8 anyway. Should have played the Dried Arbor there. That's fine. We'll attack for 4, gain 4, hold up the Knight. Could also Wasteland my opponent. I don't mind that. I think that's better than just holding up the Knight anyway. There's not too much they can do with Grizzlebrand. I guess if it has... Yeah, because even if they try to like Shallow Grave, we have the Endurance. Tough spot for them. Yeah. Alright, we're on the board. We're on the board. A little bit lucky there against the Reanimator. 8 cast, 9 Depth Reanimator. Good mix of depth so far, for sure. Yeah, great point, Akalith. The, it puts them on to having, like, have to have, like, fetch into Blue Source again, into Show and Tell, into probably Archon. I think Archon's probably the scariest card there. Potentially the Knight is big enough to attack into it. Archon is a 6/7? Or is it a 6/6? I'm going to put my money on it being a 6/6. Archon is a 6/6. Okay. Yes, because it can get hit by Unholy Heat. Alright, zeros. Totally reasonable hand. Having the Solitude's great. Esper Sentinel obviously great on the play, but I don't mind it here. Probably just going to lead on Savannah into Fiend. Keep the fetch for Dryad Arbor, hopefully. Maybe a basic if we have to. Opponent keeps 7. Bayou. Huh. Okay. Depths, like a black-green depths deck. Could be like an ant deck, some sort of storm. Could also just be like a bug midrange deck. Seen them popping up. Take the Sentinel. I don't mind just kind of resetting the game here. Waterlogged Grove with Bayou. No idea. Personal Tutor. Doomsday? What? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, the biggest sigh of relief I've ever had. Does that mean they're low on mana? I think if we find a once here and we find a wasteland, we're easily going after that. Alright. I get their Ponder. Ponder was... They chose to shuffle. Okay. Play the Savannah and then fetch, just in case of the unlikelihood that they have Ritual into... Ritual into Opposition Agent. Daze is okay. Huh. Even Murktide here is an issue, which is really nice for us. Okay. They missed a land drop. Oh, no, they didn't because they dazed. Yeah, I don't mind slamming the knight here. Yeah. All right. Still no Doomsday mana. Oh, there it is. They can draw a card with the waterlogged as well. And we don't actually have a card for the endurance. Two black and waterlogged floating. What couldn't they do with the black? They could Shadow Prophecy. That's 2 cards. They could Night's Whisper. It's 2 cards. They could use... Actually, Ideas Unbound is double blue. Oracle's double blue. I know, Evan, I apologize. Put you through it. We have some cool cards for Doomsday on the sideboard. A lot of overlap cards, like Endurance, Thoughtseize, Surgical, sure. But no true hate. No Torpor Orbs. I guess Opposition Agent's pretty good. I believe Kai had a tweet that showed Doomsday, and it was just winning with Sheoldred and Fable in play. Which is pretty funny. Might have been another card, but it looked pretty cool. What was it? Yeah. Doomsday 2023. Just not what you'd expect. Obviously Sheoldred's seen some play, but the Fable's pretty cool tech. I also have some content going live on the Zenith tonight, which is cool. It is actually a tournament report from someone from Europe who took down a ELM qualifier. European Legacy Masters qualifier. Yeah. Which is cool. So definitely keep an eye on that. Looking pretty normal here. Oh, they do pass back though. Is there a world where getting dried up matters? I'd probably rather just hold up the endurance around days. I think we allow this, and then we just respond to the next thing with endurance. And hopefully we can force our opponent to try to win with 2 cards left in the deck. That would be pretty stellar. They have 1 card left in hand. Hey Enigma. I did play Underbound Adventurer a few times, and funnily enough, I thought it was going to be great. I thought it was going to be kind of like a Planeswalker effect you could find through Green Suns on top of something like Grist. And it was just going to be great because you have 5 copies of it. And it was overkill, which I did not expect. I thought it was going to be like, sweet, this is like a stabilizer, or I just never felt like I really needed it, which is really tough. And a lot of the times against some of the more control-y decks, things like Ice Fang or people bringing back Snapcaster Mage felt a little bit awkward to try to go for it as the sole creature on the board. but it is very powerful. And if someone was trying it out, I wouldn't be like, that's wrong, that's incorrect. Because it is very powerful. The mana can be used with like Green Suns, of course. The Vigilance is great as well. But yeah, I always felt like when I was Green Sunning for a creature where I could have got Under Mountain Adventurer, I just got something else that was a little bit more relevant. Which is really tough to say, because I had high hopes for the card. I was like, sweet, people are playing this card and it's a Green Suns target with Undercity. How can it not be good? But yeah. Underwhelming, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a great point as well. A lot of decks going for like the 1/1 token just really sucks because it can also kind of force you to start using resources like Sword Plowshares on cards you just don't really want to care about. Like a 1/1 token isn't that great, but when it can steal the initiative, you got to take that into consideration and yeah, potentially put you in awkward spots. Especially against those sort of decks, because like Verdicts, potentially Humilities, Swords, Prismatic Endings, Teferi Bounces make it quite hard to gain back the initiative if you've lost it. Opponent having a real think on this this play now. They're gonna let the Endurance pass. Wow. Or can you see it? Can we just go for like Green Suns off the top for Questing Beast? No, but that's fine. It's all good. I wonder if they drew a card end step. No. One, two, three. Oh, okay. This isn't too bad because they draw 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a really good example of like another way you can like put in a initiative creature that you think is going to be really sweet. Oh, they have 0 cards left. Tough. 2 cards in hand. Yeah. Alright. Plague Engineer. Ramanap I sometimes don't mind because the double Wasteland is kind of a way to get there. Oof is fine. Sentinels are okay. How do you interact with Oracle in this deck, short of hoping they have cards left in library? Yeah, I guess if they don't, endurancing them in response to the trigger to put cards back on top. And then, like, when you go to sideboard, nothing is great, but everything has a little bit of crossover. So, Surgical and Thoughtseize taking out Doomsday. But some players have been playing... what's the card? Some players have been playing... 2 mana, exile your library. It's played with the 4 mana Thought Lapse. Thanks, Evan. All the best. Chalice on 0, I don't mind. Paradigm Shift, thank you. Like the Endurances are solid. The Kaya, I don't mind, probably over the Beast. The Swords can go. I think Solitude's just a bit better because it could also be a threat potentially. The Onces, yeah. Fiends. One Night. Grist. Knight can just be a massive threat. Yeah, Opposition Agent should be here. Kai is like if the game goes long, which I think these cards can do, and the discard is quite relevant. Honestly, it could just be the Onces. Like, Once I'm not a big fan of against combo because you really need to keep a hand that just does what it does. You don't want to rely on Once to get something. And we have enough land and mana dorks that's probably more than fine. Honestly, it could just be the Solitudes, and if they have creatures, they have creatures. We do have other ways to interact with creatures. Just the Wasteland. Like just interaction, but no actual pressure, so sadly pretty happy to mulligan this. Okay. Bottom the Dryad Arbor, and then probably the Green Suns. This is Deafening Silence into Thalia. It's probably the Green Suns just to keep pressure going. But if I don't draw into another land, I could Green Suns for Dryad Arbor to make sure I have 3 mana. Yeah. Tough. Opponent kept 7. I don't mind Thoughtseize as sort of hand disruption in the board. It's really nice when you can break up things like Deafening Silence or Surgical or Aethersworn Canonist or Thoughtseize. That's pretty good here. Because they can't Ritual into Thoughtseize. Sorry, Ritual into Doomsday. It might also put them in a position where they can't Daze, but we'll see. To play the LED for turn. Oh, they brainstorm, okay. This means they actually can't Daze, which is nice because of Deafening Silence. And now we have the Wasteland for the Underground Sea, which is really nice. But we do have to get a clock going, of course. Wow, they miss. Oh, if that's huge for us. So we get to go Wasteland on this. Attack for 2 and then Thoughtseize them. I could also Dryad Arbor this turn, just because there's nothing that I really care about next turn with only 1 mana. I could Green Suns collect Oof, but it's going to take another 2 land drops to get there because of Thalia. I think building up my board is fine. This also slowly increases the clock from 7 turns to 5 turns, which is pretty considerable. This also allows me to draw into 3 drops if I get there. They could just concede potentially here. Like this is a bit of a lock and Thoughtseize as well, so yeah, I could see the consideration to just conceal information there. But that's exactly the start that I need. Like, turn 1 Deafening Silence, Wasteland, Thalia, like, all going after mana, and just, like, trying to find a win out of nothing, really. Do I want to change anything? Probably not. Obviously, some things are going to be worse on the draw, but pretty happy just to run back what we have. But yeah, Doomsday is a tough one. I don't like to say it's a bad matchup. I think it's a very challenging matchup, but it's not worth having dedicated hate for. Torporob's probably the closest thing to dedicated hate that also has some advantage in other matchups, like Stoneforge Mystic builds, but yeah. This is a tough one as well, because we do have a turn 2 agent, but it doesn't play around Daze, and we don't have any, like, you know, Thoughtseize, Chalice, Deafening Silence, Esper Sentinel. There's a lot of good early disruption that we don't have in this hand. And the question is, like, you know, if we, on the draw, go Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, untap, Opposition Agent, they don't have days, like, is that good enough? Probably not, in my opinion. I think I should mulligan to a 6 that has a little bit more of a, like, a, you have to counter this on turn 1, you have to counter this on turn 2, and this doesn't really have that. This does, with the Esper Sentinel. We also have a backup in Endurance. I don't mind putting back the Kaya here. Kaya is obviously pretty cool, but if we look at this hand, we have turn 1 Esper Sentinel, turn 2 Bird. We probably do want to keep the combo of just like Endurance and green card at this point. So I think it is the Kaya going back, unfortunately, but I will get to shuffle straight away. So the Kaya we could draw as early as, you know, turn 3. Opponent's gone to 6 cards. Alright. One thing that did really get me against this deck was just a Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent from their side. Oof. This is actually... I'm happy to go for Savannah here. Ooh, it's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, I do have to go for a green source, and I have to go for a white source, so it has to be Savannah. But it means I don't get to draw into Thoughtseize into Wasteland next turn. Guess we could have gone Plains and then kept that for a black source, but they can't daze this, which is good. They also personal tutored for Doomsday, so I assume they have black land into Cabal Writ. And Wasteland on that black source is where I want to be. Next time we might even just get to go Bird into Wasteland. Because I assume there's a next turn, right? It's going to take a lot of effort for them to be able to Doomsday and kill next turn. I'd be very happy to see a Force here. Esper Sentinel might draw a card or two, but it doesn't interact with the combo in the way that Endurance does. Wow. Pitching a Brainstorm as well. Alright. What we can hope for here is our opponent doesn't take into consideration the extra... no. I guess we could try to take them off blue mana with the Waterlogged. But I assume they have LED to... I think hitting the blue mana here is better. Because we might be able to get 2 birds into Green Suns for Collector Oof. Also takes them off the blue of Consider as well. And they also have no cards in hand, so it will just be 5 cards as their library pass. Which, honestly, if I draw into another creature, another green creature, I might even Endurance them first. We don't have a great clock though, that's the issue. I was going to say Endurance them and then Wasteland the Waterlogged so they don't get the blue source back in the deck. But I think trying to Green Suns for Collector Oof is our way through this. Yeah, because next turn they only draw into 1 card. It won't be LED. I also want to Wasteland them before they can sacrifice it to Edge of Autumn. There's actually some good hope here. The Doomsday also goes back into... Oh, of course, yeah, it'll just be the Doomsday here. But maybe that's enough. One petal. Two petal. Okay. Green Suns. Nice. Zero cards in hand. Bird. Wasteland. They draw one card here. And then we get two planes into Collector Oof. Relic's fine. Nice. There we go. Very cool. So obviously blue sources were the issue after that Doomsday. And we got there. Which is cool. It's always nice to find the line. And we're back to 2-2. So we can try to finish this on a high, which is cool. And hey, if you enjoy this content, definitely consider following the channel. You can also find me at YouTube and Twitter. And of course, on the greensunzenith.com. You should also check out the Discord. Boom, that's my spiel. Good mix of decks tonight. 8 cast, Naya Depths. And then we got up against Doomsday and Reanimator. Yeah, huge thank you for coming in and watching. Always a pleasure to have you. A pretty great hand. Happy to keep this. Turn 1 Sentinel into Thalia. Exactly what I want to do. Could also have Ignobled into Esper and Thalia, so see how this goes. I think if this is the case, it's probably Esper Sentinel. I could try to go with the Ignobled Hierarch to play around like a Blood Moon effect, but look, if they have a Blood Moon, they have a Blood Moon. Hey, rats. Went down to Naya. Naya actually had a Tabernacle in Game 3, which was pretty tough. I just want to see a creature here. Oh, nothing? I didn't expect that. What are they holding up at 3 mana? Play this first. Huh. No turn 1 or turn 2 play, from what I can only assume is mono red Stompy. Petal. If they allow this to resolve, they don't. I was going to say they might have a Fury, but wow. Okay, they might actually have a Fury here. Which isn't too bad, we have the sword for it. No. Ren's Resolve. Ah, oh, okay. Ah, I should have played the Thalia. Way off. Alright, let's hope they play the Burgie. Bonus round. Alright. Damn. I can really only hope here that they play the Bogey. And then we get a turn to untap, play the Thalia. Nope. Okay. Grape Shot, potentially? If it's empty, we have the Plague Engineer. Jeskai's Will. Okay. Yeah. If you're a big fan of this deck, you should definitely check out... what's his name? There is someone who streams it and is very good at the deck. I could try to like Solitude here, pitch something to give them only 3 mana, but like maybe that's the line. It gives them 4 less mana, which is actually pretty big. And honestly, it might even buy us the time that we need. Because honestly, if we allow us to resolve, we're not winning the game. So here I can only hope they play the Burgie to get more mana. Ooh, Past in Flames. That's going to be the win. But there's no tutor. Just yet. Damn. Maybe there's a world where I should have picked up that it wasn't going to be a mono red deck, seeing they had no turn 1, turn 2 play. Oh, this is fine. Happy to use the sword on that. Huh. That would have been cool if they played both creatures. But now we're just at the hands of this. Deafening Silence is a fantastic card in this matchup. Thoughtseize, of course, is great. Surgical can come up, but typically not. Karakas as well, just a great clean answer to Burgie. It means they don't gain life, and it doesn't add anything to the storm count by swordsing. Oof, another Urabrask. Okay. I won't make them click through everything as well. As soon as they find some sort of actual tutor. There's Burning Wish. Alright. So what don't I want? We want the Chalices. We want the Force of Figures. We want the Surgicals, the Thoughtseizers, and the Endurers. It's just cheap, interactive things. The Beast, the Ramnap's a little bit slow. The Grist, yeah. The tough one is always going to be the Swords Plowshares. Like, it's really nice to be able to answer what they have on the board straight away, but I don't want to have all of them. The Knights are still fine. Onces, yeah. Still pretty happy with just the lands and the mana we have anyway. Thalia, Plague just in case of empty is nice. Could even be just like slight trimming. I don't mind this. The 2 swords is more than fine. Chalice, nice, into Thoughtseize. Happy to keep this. Also 2 mana to start building something going as well. Probably going to Thoughtseize up the Peatland and then keep this for Savannah. Mull to 6 cards. Okay. Gonna Thoughtseize before we play the Chalice. Okay. They play Blaststone, but it doesn't come with counters on it. I will take the right and then just play the Chalice on 0. Just trying to go Noble into Knight of the Reliquary, most likely. Could also go Chalice on 2. Honestly, I don't even mind. Oh, I thought I had a Green Suns. Oh, I used the Green Suns for the Noble, of course. That's pretty classic. Then I think it is just going to be Chalice for 2. I assume they just... Oh, they don't even cast the Metamorphosis there? That's a little bit scary. Okay. I'm going to draw a card first. Okay. Thoughtseize. Okay. Take the Jeskai's Will. I know we know about these 4. Chalice on 2, pretty good. Just a mountain off the top. Okay. Don't really want to play that into the Blast Zone, so... Honestly happy just to fetch Dried Arbor end step and get this damage going onto a 9-turn clock instead of a 18. Yeah, I am surprised that they didn't just, like, loot those Metamorphose. We are down to 9, however. Okay. That does get hit by the Chalice, unfortunately. I don't believe they were F6'd. I think we had a moment of hesitation. These are also Storm, so I do have to worry about that to some extent. Okay. And Needle. Okay. But that just, yeah, runs into Chalice, right? Maybe they just want to get it into the bin? Not too sure. Wasteland wouldn't be too bad of a draw either. Another Thalia isn't great. But I feel like the chalices here are holding out our opponent more than it's holding us back. Okay. We did take QB out, I believe. Yeah, so we'll just get Knight here. Which is pretty nice because it takes out the Blast Zone. Yeah, thankfully Blast Zone isn't a way to get through. I think we attack first and then second main just get rid of the blast. Play to white. And now just play the Deafening Silence. And the Cradle. And pass. And then we have 10. Nice. But now we are on the draw. Which kind of makes me want the extra Solitude. Probably down on Fiend. I don't think I need Endurance like that much. Always a tricky one with Ruby Storm and how they use their graveyards. Like this is fine if we get more than one turn. We get like Wasteland and Chalice potentially. They don't do too much searching with Opposition Agent or Creatures of Solitude hit. They usually play 4 Burgi and they're playing the new Urabrask as well. Tough. Well, we went 2-3, which against the decks we played I'm not too unhappy about, but obviously a 2-3 is pretty awful. But the deck itself wasn't too bad. There's still that little bit of pain between Once Upon a Time and not running Once. Because you never know what you're going to get with Once, and that's the biggest downside. It's the randomness, which I'm not a big fan of with such a fair deck. But maybe it just needs a little bit more testing. I think if anything, I could run some Mindbreak traps just because there's a lot of combo when I play. And obviously gives me some sort of game against those sort of decks that don't really care about what we're doing. But otherwise, it was pretty solid. Didn't really have the Esper Sentinel Thalia starts we did in the last league that did really well, but variance is part of the game. That's why we love it. So that's pretty much it. I think, if anything, going forward, I might just go back to the old build, which was taking out the onces, going back up on a third ignobled, a third knight, and there's one more thing. I'm gonna have to re-look at the DeckTech and go after it. The tower was pretty cool. Having the mana open for it was tough. I could easily see an extra force being better in that spot, and just not really caring about it. But I think, yeah, just making sure the main deck can beat fair decks pretty consistently means I can just focus for combo on the board, which I kind of like. Ooze, that was it. Yeah, I cut the ooze, which tonight wouldn't have been too bad, especially against like Nine Adepts, but yeah, the tab out of nowhere definitely got us. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to see who else is streaming. I think Kai's actually doing some legacy content, which is kind of cool. So if he's still live, I'll definitely send you over there. I think it's a, yes, it's an ELM qualifier, which is pretty sweet. So hope you guys enjoy that. A big thank you again. I'll be back probably on maybe even tomorrow night with the last build of the donation deck list I've been doing last week. So big thanks to Bob for that. But until then, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll chat to you soon. Thanks.